Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be a try a chapter challenge. What does that mean? Basically, I have a large TBR of books that I have checked out from my library and they are kind of weighing on me, and I am feeling less excited about reading them and more like they're like this massive pile of tasks that I have to get to rather than something I want to do, and I want to keep reading to something that I want to do. So I'm going to try a chapter of each of these books and I'm going to decide whether I'm going to read them or take them back to the library. And I'm going to use this to craft my May TBR because we are halfway through April right now and I pretty much have decided what I'm going to be reading for the rest of April, but May is more up for grabs. So the books that I'm going to try out: Walking into Worlds. This is about Bugs and Fang who have different lives in the real world versus a virtual world in an MMO. And I really like MMOs, and I also am wanting to read more Indigenous lit, so that's why I originally checked this out. Hopefully the first chapter will draw me in and I will want to read this in May and will be re-excited for it. Then there is Embodied. This is about transgender identities, the church, and what the Bible has to say. I'm fairly certain it's trans-positive, but I need to check that before I devote myself to reading it. So I'm going to try the first chapter and find out. Then we have In Transit, which is another nonfiction. Being non-binary in a world of dichotomies, which I checked out for Trans Girl April. And it is fairly short. If I end up liking the first chapter, it should be a fairly easy read, a nice short one, and hopefully will be also informative. Then we have Salt Houses. This one I learned about from Sim Kern on TikTok. It is a Palestinian book that they recommended for anti-Zionist reading. Then we have Zachary Ying, which is the middle grade book by Ziran J. Zhao, who is someone I really loved the book Iron Widow by. And like, I'm really hoping that they write a really good middle grade. Then The Final Strife, which I've heard quite a few good things about. I love the cover. It looks like there's a resistance against an empire, and it looks like there's one person who's in the resistance and one person who's like the princess of the empire. I'm pretty sure this is a queer book as well. Then we have Bloodmarked, which I was very excited about because I really enjoyed Legendborn. But then I heard a lot of people saying that it was not so great, that it suffered from middle book syndrome, and that it was very frustrating because the characters wouldn't talk things out with each other, which is something that I find very frustrating. So I'm going to try a chapter, see if I can get re-excited about it, but if it is already showing problems in the first chapter, I'm probably not going to want to read this 550 page book. Then we have Carolina Built by Kiana Alexander, who also writes romance, and I really like her romances. And I remember last time I checked this out, before I went back to the library last time, that I tried a couple of pages of it and was really excited about it, so I need to try a whole chapter and see if I'm really gonna give it a go. Then Witches Steeped in Gold. I've heard a few good things about this, but not as much as I would kind of expect. This is a bit of a chunker as well, over 500 pages, but I'm excited about the concept, so I need to see if like I vibe with the writing. And then The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. I'm also excited about this one, and I think that from what I've seen, everyone who liked the first book liked the second book. So I'm hoping that this will be an easy pick that will definitely make it onto my May TBR, but we will find out. So the format of this video is going to be me reading each book, and then I will come back and check in with you and tell you a little bit about my feelings on that first chapter, and then ultimately whether I'm going to read it. See you in the next clip. So I finished the prologue of The World We Make, and I liked it quite a lot. There's a 3-month gap between the end of the first book and this one, and I'm liking the things the characters have been doing in between. and the things that they have set up. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one, so it's gonna stick around for my May TBR. So now I've finished the first chapter of Soul Houses by Hala Ayan, and it didn't make a great impression. Different chapters are narrated by different main characters, and the first chapter is narrated by the matriarch of the family, who has had to flee Palestine when Israeli soldiers came. The matriarch kind of reminded me in a bad way of one of my grandmas, caring a lot about how her children's actions reflected on her. She didn't pressure her kids as much as my grandma did, so Frodo's trying to talk to me, so that was good, but still not a great first impression. But I don't know how much she's gonna be the narrating character. I kind of flipped through and saw that mostly the other chapters are going to be narrated by her kids or grandkids, or possibly even great-grandkids. So I'm thinking I'm going to give this a shot and put it on the thin ice sort of area of I will let myself DNF this easily if the second chapter is also not likable. But for now, I'm tentatively going to put it on my May TBR. I just finished the preface and the first chapter of Embodied by Preston Sprinkle, who isn't trans, but this is a trans positive book, and it made me cry. I'm not used to seeing that from Christians. So I am going to finish this and possibly ask my uncle if he's read it. He's a liberal Christian pastor, and possibly also get my mom to read it. Okay, I finished 3 more first chapters. Carolina Built, which is about a black woman who was born on a plantation and freed when she was about 9, I think, who starts her own business. And I think this is a fictionalized account of a real person. But I'll have to look into that more as I read the whole thing. But I was very much drawn in. I think the main character is very sweet. What's her name? Josephine. In the first chapter, she's gotten married and sets out to buy some land to start a business on. And the guy she's married to is a very sweet man who's really supportive of her and her dreams, and she's also a bookish person who really likes to read, so I'm very drawn in and I'm excited to keep reading, so I'll definitely be wanting to get to this in May. Then Bloodmarked also drew me right in. We're brought quickly up to date of what has happened between this book and Legendborn and the state of things, and then thrown into some action fairly quickly. So yeah, it brought me right back to the characters and how much I like them, and also the magic system, and I'm really excited to explore more of that. So and sometimes books that have middle book syndrome, which I've heard this one does, bother me, and sometimes it doesn't, so I'm gonna give this one a chance. Then we have The Final Strife, which, like the other two, I read both prologue and the first chapter, and the prologue kind of hints that maybe the princess and the rebel who we learn about in the description were maybe switched at birth, so that's exciting. I really like a switched at birth story, especially if it involves a princess. Yeah, there's like people with different colored bloods have different social statuses. So there's people with clear blood on the bottom, people with blue blood pretty close to the bottom but slightly above those people, and then at the top are the people with red blood. And the first chapter is from the perspective of the rebel, who's from the blue-blooded cast so far, and she seems really interesting, and I also really like her friend who is the clear-blooded cast. So I'm gonna keep this one on the TBR as well. Okay, so I finally found a book to DNF, and it is In Transit, Being Non-Binary in a World of Dichotomies by Diana E. Anderson. Unfortunately, this is written in such a way as to be ridiculously hard to understand for no reason. I was starting to have trouble following sentences in the first chapter, and then I'm going to show you the sentence that broke me. The author says, "In asking what a word means, then, a person, a speaker, must use the word, rendering circular the question of asking for meaning." Yes, Frodo, it is a terrible sentence. Anderson used 6 clauses to express that words are hard to describe because you have to use words. Yes, that's true. It's a fine sentiment, but the way you said it was horrible. Maybe this author is too used to academic writing and thinks you have to write that way to be respected in an academic setting, and maybe that's even true, but it's ridiculous and I'm not going to read it. Fortunately, other books went better. I read the first chapter of Witches Steeped in Gold, which it's only like 8 pages or something, and it did make me immediately interested. It sounds like our main character is the daughter of the ruler of this country or group, but there is a rebellion that wants to unseat the ruler, and the main character is kind of part of it. So we will see how that works out. I am planning on reading this in May. And then Walking into Worlds, this also had a very short first chapter that introduced our main character laying the beat down on a group of sexists, a large group of sexists in an MMO. And yeah, that was pretty cool. A little bit silly, but still fun. And I really like MMOs, and I especially like fiction about MMOs. I've only actually played one, but I really love Sword Art Online and Slay. Yes, Frodo. He really needs attention right now. But yeah, I really like those sorts of stories, so I'm excited to get into this in May. Okay, I finished my last book, Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor. This one also has some MMO aspects, some bit Pokemon-ish, which I'm not sure if that classifies as an MMO, but there are like tournaments and you collect dragons and you can be friends with other people on the thing. So it involves video games, but also being possessed by the spirit of the first emperor of China, who has water dragon powers. And it sounds like it's gonna be really cool and fun. So overall, the purpose of this challenge was to reduce my TBR and to get myself re-excited for these books instead of feeling like they're weighing down on me. And I didn't succeed very much with the first part. I only was able to eliminate 1 book that I decided I didn't want to read. But I did succeed in the second goal because I do feel a lot more excited about all of the ones that I decided to keep. So I think I'm going to be reinvigorated going into May and actually happy about having these books to read instead of feeling like I have to read them. That makes up part of my May TBR. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to know if you tend to decide in the first chapter whether you're going to DNF something or not, or if you really need more chapters than that to decide. I usually will give a book a pretty big chance. I'll usually go to about 100 pages before I DNF, unless something really sticks out that I don't like that terrible sentence. Or are you really bad at DNFing and feel like you have to finish everything? I used to struggle with that more. I'm getting better at it. If you'd like to leave an emoji, how about a dragon for the Dragon King? And I will see you in the next video. Bye!